Hey there viewers, my name's Torinski and welcome back to another DCSS Sunday where we're continuing to try and get a victory with each and every species in the game here. Today, we're going to be jumping back into our Demonspawn, good old Matt Demon here, who so far has had a pretty successful run through the dungeon. Definitely some caveats that we're worried about, some incidences that may occur throughout the rest of the run here that are concerning, but hopefully we can make it through in one piece here and maybe, just maybe, escape with the orb today. It's time to hop in and see how it goes. And I actually had kind of forgotten just how sweet our character was looking. Besides the blue cloak that's a little bit off from the rest of the outfit, we have quite a cohesive fit going on here today. But alrighty, where did we leave off last time? We just finished exploring through vaults down to floor 4. We cleared out most of our basic dungeon, and now we're just moving on to some of the further reaches. Maybe Elf, maybe Depths, start heading towards Zot. We could even head to Crypt if we need a little bit more experience to round off our run. We can also take a quick peek through both our Demonspawn mutations and what kind of sacrifices we've made to Rue, because this was our first time trying out the new god here, or not the new god, but new to us at the very least. And it's definitely been a bit of an interesting mix. So we got Claws as our body mutation. We have Blood, Ignitable Blood. I really should have looked up what this mutation was actually called, because I keep calling it random things each and every time. But sometimes we light blood on fire. We also gain power by getting hurt ourselves. Our melee attacks debilitating our foes is linked in with the hexes are more powerful. We have the black mark as our tier 3 augmentation. And finally, our movements are less encumbered by armor, so we can wear slightly heavier armor than we might otherwise have been able to get away with. In terms of sacrifices, look at all that red text there. So we have lower magic, no stealth, no dodging. Definitely not at all like some of our very recent characters that we played. And we took a few different magic ones, no poison, no translocation, no transmutations, and of course what is the main factor that has concerned me for the longevity of poor old Matt here is the fact that we are slightly weak-willed, so we're going to be struggling against casters throughout the rest of the run here, and hopefully not running into a debilitating paralyze or something like that, because we've definitely lost some very promising characters in the past to that kind of shenaniganery. Finally, we have slightly worse aptitudes, and of course we're missing an eye, so our accuracy is a little bit down, but we should be okay moving forward here as long as there aren't things too evasive, and even if there are, we'll just blast them away with some good old evocations. I think our skills were looking pretty good. We were starting to fully just train out evo throwing and fighting into the final part of the game here, and with that, I think we're all caught up, all summed up and ready here to hop in and try it out. It's going to be a bit of a wild ride, I'm sure. So, to begin with, I think we will just head towards Depths. Having made it through the first 4 floors of vaults, as it is here, we're definitely likely to see similar magnitude in terms of the strength of our enemies, so hopefully we can make it through there in one piece, but it's definitely going to be a little bit of a struggle. So with that, let's head off to the top of Depths, shall we? Okie dokie. Can also do a quick check on inventory. I know I was looking at this earlier today in order to just catch myself up and remember what exactly we were doing last week, and I noticed that we have these 2 pips of RC now. So this protection from cold ring can probably go by the wayside, and we'll switch it out for a bit of positivity, some willpower. A little bit of intelligence doesn't do much for us, but that definitely gives us a slightly more well-rounded set of resistances here. And look at that, a whole 1 pip of willpower. Maybe we won't get absolutely blasted, though I doubt it. Let's head down and see what we run into. Huge part of why this run has been successful up until this point is definitely just the fact that we got this electric demon trident popping off pretty early on. Definitely is a huge advantage. Played Ghost. It's always a bit of an interesting encounter, and here we go. So this is our first highly evasive enemy of the evening. They only have a 48% chance to evade our trident. I actually thought that number was going to be looking a lot higher, and I definitely would not have been surprised. You loved them in The Martian? Yes, a star-studded run today at the start. Okie dokie, here we go. Well, let's just close the door in the face of that Orb of Destruction. No real need to fool around with that today. New Liches, not quite as scary in terms of their willpower affecting abilities. We're not concerned about paralyzes and stuff coming through there. But definitely as we continue on, maybe even start fighting against some ancient Liches, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle here. Definitely kill whatever that invisible thing was. It's kind of nice when you're able to steamroll through something you never even get to discover its true form, because why bother? As for Scroll of Enchant Armor, I've mostly been saving these potentially to be wearing like some gold dragon scales or something in the future here. Definitely nice if we can enchant those up. We could spend one on our shield though. I think Kite Shield of Resistance has a decent chance of sticking around for the rest of our time here, so let's pop one on there, give us the slightest bit more shielding power. And then onwards we go. And I'm hoping that the rest of the run looks kind of like this initial couple minutes, because this hasn't been quite as bad as I was expecting. I was fully prepared to be deep in the thick of it and struggling since the very start of the evening today. So we've gone through the easy part, and now it's just the stage where things get a bit tricky. In fact, I'm even going to double check on each and every caster I see just to make sure there aren't any factors that I'm forgetting to take into account there. And an Eden hits pretty hard. Can kind of lead them through the fire and the flames a little bit. In fact, that works out quite nicely. Beautiful. And of course, the extra pip of cold resistance might have actually helped out in this exact scenario, but we made our bed and now we're just sleeping in it here. Hello, friends. Oh, I feel kind of sorry for you on the other side of the water. Let's try and take advantage of this a little bit. We will be getting hit by LRDs from our Earth Mage friend here, but that should be a-okay. And we'll just keep popping off boomerang throws. Fantastic. Ooh, wizard. You can get a bit of special treatment as well here. Though, again, not the end of the world if we get banished. Been there before. In fact, the last time we got banished, it kind of worked out for us in the end, didn't it? Not that that's something I want to necessarily rely on in the future. Hello, friends. Please don't run away. I'm just trying to be cool. Please come back. There we go. Maybe we can do enough damage. Perfect. Just barely before they get out of frame there. Okie dokie. Again, a huge amount of our current level of, I guess, semi-comfort that we're sitting at now is just due to the fact that we've been lucky enough not to come across too many casters yet. I'm ready for all that to get shaken up and completely thrown back at us, of course. Hello, my ugly friends. Do you love it when they're all fire themed? That's one of the few departments that we're sitting exceptionally well prepared in. Are these new sprites? They are not. At least I don't think so. I definitely didn't do anything since last week. Oh, we're just looking that good today in the dungeon. Not new, just beautiful. Let's run away a wee bit here from these fancy buddies. Oh, right. Never mind. Earth Mages kind of get rid of the whole point of moving off into a hallway. So there we go. Now that we've taken care of them, and make these steel trolls, iron trolls, that's what they're called, slightly more manageable in the hallway setting. Ooh, and we get shafted. And there's an interdimensional caravan here. Interesting. We are kind of just in the middle of wide open space, which is slightly scary, for sure. But hopefully we can get out of this in one piece. We're not drawing too much attention, and we will definitely be reading Scroll of Magic Mapping, immediately trying to find ourselves this caravan. Ooh, this looks like a shopping district. And I would guess this room down here is what we're looking for. Can I at least start heading that direction here? hopefully, in our haste to get there, we won't throw too much away. This fire, blood ignition, whatever we want to call it, is definitely doing absolute wonders for us for the most part here. Fantastic. I should have been slightly more concerned and aware of the many-eyed beast there, because we're definitely not exactly in a position to avoid some of the worst effects that we can see coming out of that direction. Let's go for it. Beautiful. It's funny because we also have a permanent caravan, not a time exclusive one, sitting for us. Where is it? Up on Snake 3. One of these days we'll have enough money to also take advantage of that, right? We keep throwing all of our money at the intervening gates that we find along the way, and the shops as well, of course. So this time, once in a lifetime, we actually do remember to empty our inventory a little bit, just in case there is a cache of extraordinary materials at our fingertips here. Spellcasting, we're not too interested in getting into at this stage in the game. I believe, yeah, we already have a fantastic helmet, so see invisible. Not necessarily what we're looking for. A base tower shield. Almost tempting. It's on the cusp, but not today. Ooh, and would you look at that? We can't afford it, but the orange crystal plate armor. I'm happy we're not playing a caster now, because that would have been a bit of a disappointing thing to run into this late in the game, but dang. I always like it when you do see these unrand arts. It's such a rare opportunity that I'm tempted to, at any expense, try and make it work out, force it to fit. I think we will just immediately snap by 3 heal wounds. We've been short on that for the past while here. And there we go. That's about everything. So I think it's looking like we can afford to head back to the shop. Definitely buying these artifact boots. That's going to be first on our agenda here. And what did we get? Ooh, the boots just sips. More fire resistance. It's apparently just a run filled to the brim with fire resistance, but also resistance to corrosion, which is something we've been missing out on so far. So that is quite a nice swap out here. Let's put them on and hopefully they're a nice color for our outfit. Yeah, I mean the dark brown, maybe slight reddy hues definitely fits in. I like it. I like it. And then last but not least here, I think we will buy this shiny tower shield. It'll maybe give us a reason to swap up in the future. Protection is okay. I mean, more AC is kind of nice. An extra 3 pips in that regard could definitely work out. But I do like me the resistances on our current shield. We'll definitely be carrying this out of here, of course. Keep it in the back of our minds as a potential option for the future. But otherwise, nothing to write home about here, and I think we're just going to head on out. We'll give one last peek into the potion shop, make sure I didn't miss anything. Haste is tempting. We do have 6, but hey, 7 is better than 6. Bigger number, better person here. So let's do it. I was actually going to argue against at first, but ended up coming around to in favor in the end. And with that, we should be just about prepped to continue on. We'll leave this tower shield lying around for the time being, since we don't necessarily need it immediately. Pick up the Wand of Paralysis, even though in a similar sense it's not likely to be too useful at this stage in the game. Most monsters are a bit too resistant to be fooled by such a simple maneuver, but it could still be the difference between life and death. 7 more than 6. It may shock you. I too was surprised when I found out, but it is true. 7 is bigger than 6. Who knew? Okie dokie, and here we go. This time with the Ball of Eyes, let's take a look. What are we dealing with? 33% chances for all these negative effects. I mean, Drain Magic? Not a care in the world. Confuse? Actually not that bad. We can just pull out power thanks to Rue. But Paralyze is where we're starting to become slightly concerned. Enough even that I'm debating a there we go, we get paralyzed. I was about to say I'm debating an apocalypse here, but that's fine. We managed to survive the paralysis, get through in one piece. That's going to be a tricky thing to work with in the future is we just continually find shafts. In fact, I've forgotten that we were shafted into that previous floor, so we probably should have just taken our very first stairs up, but I guess it's the quickest way out is through, right? Ooh, there we go. Hello, friend. Take care of you before we go crawling upstairs once more here. And then this time, as soon as we finish this fight, let's see. Did we find another stairwell yet? Let's get out of here, shall we? Might as well clear out these floors to their entirety, get a little bit extra experience in our skill points, make sure the way rather, is safe for our escape in the future. All that good stuff. And onwards we go. Oops. Let's find the stairs before I take a sip of my drink. There we go. See how well I can play one-handed for a moment. Okay, poison darts, those can go, I think. Jeez, and choke on my drink. I'm just showing off all my proficiencies at being a standard human being here. Not at all an alien, trying my best to take on a role. But we do have complete maxed out enchantments on our favorite demon trident here, but that vampiric regular trident might be nice to have in the back pocket for the future. Something fully resistant against electricity in particular. And that floating eye. It's gonna be a bit of a pain, at least with them. It's not a willpower thing, it's just a floating eye thing, so we don't feel quite as bad. Ooh, and a Reaver with a vampiric glaive. That's slightly scary, for sure. For you, friend, I think we'll pop around the corner, and we will switch over to Evocable, get that lightning rod out, undodgeable damage at the very least. Still not in one-hit territory, so I'm feeling okay there. Let's throw in a couple of auto attacks, rather, at the end. Okie dokie. Only slightly scary. Only slightly jumping out of my own skin here. Ooh, and a Juggernaut. Now that is freaky. 120 damage. So much health, though. A decent willpower to boot. Like, if we want to take a quick peek at our paralysis chance, 8% chance, even at, what, like 18 evo now? Just about 18 evocations? Jeez Louise. In that case, let's maybe start with a Wand of Acid, try and get that corrosion effect out nice and early in the fight. Beautiful, we do manage to take care of them. Oh wow, and we weren't actually at the max for our Burning Blood. I thought our Burning Blood was definitely already maxed out, seeing as how we were just constantly creating these clouds everywhere. Turns out, it's going to be even more consistent now. I believe it goes from like a 33 to a 66 to a 100% chance to take effect. And I'm hoping that one of these jewelry stores has some willpower. We've been struggling, looking desperately for an artifact with like maybe 3 pips of willpower. Bit greedy to ask for maybe, but that's definitely what we need in order to offset our current position in life. Oh wait, what was that manual? Evocations. I will actually highlight that as a potential buy in the future. Ring of the Hair is fun in theory, but unfortunately not on this character. We've completely forsaken our chances at dodging even a single blow throughout the course of this. Instead, we're going to be looking to get slightly more defensive capabilities at some point here. This is a nice position. I think I'm very much happy to stand on the stairs and try to take advantage of that. In fact, we can run away as soon as things start to look a little bit dire here. Fantastic stuff. I would like that Vampire Mage to be next to me. We missed our opportunity earlier to take them upstairs, but I feel like that would have been prudent at the very least. Maybe after we kill this wasp. No, apparently the vampire's happy to just chill out on the back line, so instead, let's go for some piercing action, shall we? It's not going to do a whole lot of damage to the spark wasp, but we do take care of the summons. Fantastic stuff, and then we can just auto fight through the rest of that. Tap, 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 tap. Onwards we go. Definitely looking half decent to start off at the very least. You qualified a potion yesterday. Mutation. Nota gave you resistance to poison and extra willpower. At that point, you knew you were doomed. Yeah, that's definitely an incredible get and very much indicative of how the rest of the run will go. No game quite does it like DCSS in terms of making me feel nervous whenever anything good happens. Because, hey, everyone knows the standard is to be running a Felid and immediately run into Gold Dragon scales on D2. But what they don't tell you is that the worst outcome, rather, is that you're running a character that can actually use those and you run into it on D2, because then, oh boy, are you just asking for some karmic rebalancing of the scales there. Interesting, a whole bunch of swamp monsters just chilling out here, hey? A little late in the game for this this tack to work, but I appreciate the effort, monsters. Finding a place here in the depths to call your own. I almost feel bad for upsetting said balance. Definitely not going too shabby here. I feel like there's not a whole lot more to say about the run at this point because it is very much solved to at least the essence of just using the auto attack feature for the most part. As soon as we get trickier fights, we'll start having to dip into our pockets, thinking about evocables, throwables, all that goodness. But until then, we are fortunate enough to have a bit of a straightforward go at it. And it's funny because I do say fortunate, but I almost immediately regret saying so, because in a similar vein to the karmic justice that we were just mentioning a moment ago, I feel like as soon as a run is comfortable and I'm not struggling, that's when I'm very liable to make some exceptionally stupid mistakes. Because the less attention rather that you pay in this game, definitely the scarier even the most basic of encounters will get. Do we have any spells? We do not on this run. Absolutely no magic thus far. We could dip into it for the most part. I mean, we are barred from a few translocations, transmutations, and poison. The kind of unfortunate thing about that, because generally not a big deal, we haven't been really thinking about exploring our magical side regardless. But even if we do go a little bit hybrid, we are blocked off from some of my favorite schools to mix into this kind of build. Specifically translocations, just because I'm absolutely addicted to Manifold Assault. Ooh, and our very first gold dragon. I mean, the mace is okay, definitely not interesting to us because a mace at this stage in the game is a little bit lackluster, but I wouldn't mind early scales, maybe, just maybe. Of course not. What was I thinking? Not even for a second did the game consider giving us what we wanted. Ooh, and this is tough. Right, they're both fire resistant, so our burning blood isn't quite as useful as it has been in the last few encounters. So we'll instead cheat the system with evocations there. Fantastic. I know I sense monsters nearby, but I'm okay with the game, why aren't you? Summoning Scroll is a very nice get here. We very consciously were not willing to sacrifice our love for any stretch, no matter how much power Rue promised. Unfortunately, allies are very much something that I appreciate being able to call out in my time of need. And we've actually, I think, stockpiled a decent number of those. Yeah, we have 4 scrolls of summoning to pair along with things like our box of beasts and a bit more the usual speeds. So, very much happy with that. More paralysis coming our way. I mean, hey, if the game wants to get all of that off its chest right now, maybe, just maybe, not throw any paralyzers at us in Zot, because that's where I'm going to be most concerned about that. It's where the majority of my beautiful characters have met an untimely end, just trying to make their way through the lungs. But not too shabby here. Hello, my Spriggan pals. We're actually not too far away from playing as a Spriggan here, just a couple species off. Let's see how we fare relative to these buddies who are definitely struggling at this point, even with our inability to hit things thanks to our missing eye. haven't been struggling too much in that regard. Okay, this fight has potential to get off to a rough start. If those ice giants had hit us for some bad rolls, we definitely would have had to start thinking critically on our feet. Another gold dragon is actually a relief to find. Of course, it doesn't drop anything. Why would I expect anything less? Beautiful. Let's take another peek. What does our current armor do? Really nice fire resistance. And blink. So we could potentially think of switching up to some plate armor. AC would increase by 2. This is also enchantable since it's not an artifact, so we could actually rank this up to plus 10, right? Yeah. So an increase of 8 to our AC. If we don't find a gold dragon scales relatively quickly here, I think we will at the very least have to consider going that way. Ooh. And we see a wizard portal here. That's one that we don't run into too often, and one of the few places that I'm not at all aware of all the different permutations that can come out of it. So it's a little bit sketchy in its own regard for that reason alone. But it's worth at least taking a look, I think. Let's definitely bring all of our friends into a slightly more manageable corridor here. Even the Annihilator, Warper, what are you purple flamed buddies called? This friend is a Scorcher, of course. Silly old me. Everyone knows that's a Scorcher. Ooh, and then a little bit of corrosion damage, sneaking past even our resistance for it. That's a shame. Ooh, it says that the portal is very distant as well. So this is actually our entrance into Zot, if I had to guess. And this might be our wizard portal up here. Maybe some shops over to the bottom left. That makes sense in retrospect. So let's instead head back out this way, and we'll go around the long way here. Perfect. Trying to strike a good balance between quick and slow movements. Not quick enough that I completely fail to recognize walking into a threat. Of course, an Earth Mage just instantaneously opens up this entire place. I was looking at the Iron Troll as we were walking in, thinking, oh yeah, we have this beautiful maze to just leave them behind. Don't have to worry about that, but looks like I'm wrong once more. But okie dokie, magical portal is still open for business. I'm nervous. I'm concerned. Anything wizard related also seems like it might not be the best fit for us. As a weak-willed bruiser here. But we can at the very least take a peek. I think this amulet of Guk no longer is really necessary. We have a whole lot of fire resistance across the board, so we should be good swapping that out real quick. Dropping it to make room for potential treasures that we find in here. Wand of Paralysis I'm willing to leave behind this time around if it doesn't work out. Potions of Magic we want to keep for our God-given abilities. Let's take a peek. Okay, the Chambers of the Cloud Mage. Well, it's scary because I don't actually recognize this one at all. I think we've been into the mutation-themed one, the like fleshy prison of sorts. Also been to the moon relatively recently, so I feel like I'm at least understanding of that. But this is slightly concerning for sure. Hello, friends. Miasma is not great for us, but shouldn't be the end of the world either. In fact, let's close this to heal up. Send some monsters nearby, but that's fine. As long as they stay on their side of the door, I think we can relate to each other and be friends after all. In general, this looks like it's going to be a bit of an elemental theme, which actually is not too bad for us. It's something that I feel slightly comfortable facing at the very least. Please don't get between me and my ghostly crab friend. Perfect. I can't really tell whether these disparate areas actually connect to each other. Slightly concerning. In fact, let's pop in here, do a quick exclusion drop on these other doors, and then it'll give us a slightly better idea as I keep trying to auto-explore, even though the game is trying to be helpful and tell me that it's not an option. See, even a fight against fairly, at least relatively basic creatures for the stage in the game, going a little bit scary. Not a great start. But at the very least, manageable here with our well-rounded resistances, not getting completely blown out, at least not yet. Yes, sorry game, we're trying to stand in that cloud of pestilence. Silly me. Ooh, chaos crabs. Don't love that. You are vulnerable to silver. Don't I know what that feels like? But I think we will whip out the old silver javelins here to just try and finish that fight as quickly as possible. I'm ready for more of these buddies. In fact, there we go. We see another one immediately here. Let's get out of those clouds. So far, it's kind of working out for us. We're just getting positive effects, but that is in no way a guarantee moving forward. And for this, I think we can kind of fake this. If we go to here and then hit period, I'm trying my very best to not lose any of our fancy javelins to deep water here. So you try and take advantage of the throw at target mechanic, I guess, that period supplies. Fantastic. Okay, turns out these were slightly connected, or interconnected as it were. Little treasure holes as well, but I'm sure this is where things get a little wacky. Let's start by just maybe backing ourselves off a bit, making some space, and then see this as a fairly good opportunity to take advantage of our piercing javelins here. Fantastic. We don't have a whole lot of javelins at our disposal, so we want to be careful about mulching too many of them. But we can definitely manage to use that a little bit here. Can also take advantage of the fact that our flame clouds that we create will occasionally be stand-ins for any cloud type, by which I just mean to say when we're facing off against our miasma drakes, we can use our own fire air clouds as places to stand. We know we won't be affected or hurt at all, and fortunately it will prevent them from launching down their own abilities. And okay, so this is the special unique of this area. Wapna the Cloud Mage. Interesting. +3 Robes of the Cloud. Plus thunder, resistance to all clouds, resistance to electricity. Interesting. And what do you actually cast? Polar Vortex is like the old tornado, so it's definitely going to send us flying around. We might have to switch over to some source of flying to get past that. And Airstrike, 150 health. I mean, it's probably worth it to throw some solutions at the problem here, right? So let's close this door, make them come next to us, and then we'll whip out the file floods, make sure that we silence them. Always a good way to take care of wizards. And then just try and output a quick burst of damage. You know what, they're so close to dead that let's finish them off. I guess lightning, not the best element to have chosen there because they are resistant to it. That makes sense. Don't we have some kind of cloud resistance? We have cloud resistance specifically just to fire. So yes, you're definitely not wrong there. It has potential advantages to be eked out in the future, but we were looking pretty good there. The Ring of the Everdark. Oh, Wizlab, hello and good evening. Hey Shaper, how's it going? Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for coming around. And yes, Wizlab's here. Something that I am not too intimately familiar with and always slightly nervous and scared about. But hey, this was a new one, and it went pretty well. We were uniquely suited to take it on. Ring of the Everdark, well, normally would be a nice little rounding off of our resistances. Not really necessary on this character. We're looking pretty good in that regard. Can make sure we're not leaving anything on the floor that I just didn't notice. Seems pretty on the up and up there, so let us finish off exploring this floor. 3 scrolls of enchant armor. Holy moly. How many of those do we have altogether now? 5, 7, 9, 10, 13. So we can definitely max out some gold dragon scales if we do end up switching to that. We can even afford to read one of these now, again throwing it right onto our wonderful shield. And the rest will stick around at least for a moment here. It's likely that we'll be dipping into that at some stage. Yeah, gold dragon scales, here you come. I sure hope so. We've already been lucky enough to face off against 2 exceptionally early gold dragons and no dice for the scales, but plenty of run to go here. Lots of time to get it sorted out for the future. Let's switch over to our regular javelins and just launch a few of these through the entire crowd here. You know what, let's not worry about the red draconian. I'm much more concerned about the rest of these fools. It is one of the few times that I'm not actually concerned about the purple draconians. That's usually a bit of a sticking point for me. At least on the last few characters that have had a bit more of a spell influence into their build. We'll switch over to our lightning rod at the end here, and you know what? I think we're sitting pretty decent here. We've managed to soften them up, so let's just finish the job. We feel completely energized by our own suffering. Fantastic. I mean, that definitely works for me. Ooh. And now we have a bit of a crowd coming from the other direction. I'm gonna draw out power right away. Just get us a little bit of extra health to work with. Finish off all our enemies on the right side so we can go back into tunnel vision and just having to worry about one angle at a time. Love to see it. And fantastic. That definitely all shook out in the end. And it was largely a situation that was potential, or had potential rather, to go the other way for sure. But I'm hoping that this entrance into Zot is guarded by a couple of golden dragons. It's definitely not an uncommon occurrence. Ooh, please, Orb of Eyes, please don't paralyze me. Not with a lich. Oh dear gosh. We're just about worked through our drain, so we could rely on something else here. I mean, Power Leap is kind of interesting. We could use it to potentially take out these 2 targets. Apocalypse, maybe a little bit overkill, but hey, overkill is many steps above and beyond the chance of losing our life needlessly, so there is that to consider for sure. Alternatively, we could just go for the draw out power again and try and finish off this encounter as quickly as we can. You're only resistant to poison, and you have 66 health, so if we look at something like our Ice Blast, I mean, it's likely that we killed him in 2 shots. So that seems pretty sweet. I'm gonna draw out power. Don't paralyze me immediately, please. I don't want to pay for the consequences of my own decisions. And in fact, I maybe shouldn't have even bothered to aim for the Lich there and gone for the Fire Giant and the Orb of Eyes. Also turns out that it's one of the few times that our 2-shot estimation there actually played out, so that's nice. And another jewelry store got my hopes up. I was pondering the opportunity to potentially get some willpower going here, but that's a-okay. We'll take whatever we get, and more than that, we'll be happy with it. So let's finish off this floor, shall we? Start heading the other direction here. Maybe paying attention, even if we're playing one-handed. Should see those force mortars coming along. And, I mean, we could just start heading into Zot. In general, the run is pretty decked out. We're looking pretty solid. Zot is the most likely place for us to find some gold dragon scales, if that is the direction we want to head here. So there's that. We could even do a quick check if I find gold dragon. Okay, just to make sure that we hadn't missed something obvious. It wouldn't be the first time. I think it was on our Palantonga victory that we completely missed out on the gold scales of the Dragon King, just sitting on like depths 3 or something like that. And boy, did we feel the fool there. So anything we can do to avoid that potentiality, in the present day. Seems like a decent action to take. And we do have all these magic mappings, so let's definitely read these on each and every one of the floors that we come across. Again, Quicksilver Dragon, something that we've been very afraid of in the past, but should be manageable with our current setup here. Yeah, so that video. No, embarrassing, but a good lesson for me to demonstrate, even if just to myself. A good reminder to be on my toes and actually paying attention as we explore the dungeon here. I actually want to blast this caster before we finish off the tentacled monstrosities, and then we'll take all of you friends on a bit of a jaunt. That alarm trap is concerning. Please don't stagger. Perfect. Whenever they're walking together, I'm worried that the one in front will stall out a bit, get some random energy BS, and our friend will pop onto the alarm trap, but no dice, we managed to get lucky today at the very least. It's also interesting that we finally have a run where I am interested in not diving through Zot and instead actually dealing with the encounters as they crop up here. And of course it would be on just such a run that we immediately find another downstairs. Normally it's a bit of a trek, short journey at the very least to get a hold of that, but hey, definitely not exactly a negative in this specific context. And onwards we go. What did I just pick up there? Oh, we do have Scrolls of Identify in our inventory. Have to remember that when we're next clearing out to make room. Next time we have a detritus clearing session. Probably won't, and I'll probably end up throwing out something marginally more useful in the short term, but that's okay. And onwards we go. Of course not running into any gold dragons. One of these days. I swear, one of these days. Sure, Quicksilvers, left and right, why the heck not? Ooh, Ghost Moth? Not a bad encounter for us here. Have we already won with every species before we started playing on stream? Don't know if you've heard my history with the game. I definitely have not. In fact, there are quite a few species that I've never played before. But I played the game for a long time, probably on and off over the course of 12 years or so. When I first started playing, it was fairly casually. I never got very far, never collected any runes. It was more of an experiment in fun, silly builds. That was back when transmuters were able to like evaporate corpses into bottles and toss those at their enemies. And so that was always a lot of fun. Or trying to like hunt down as many sky beasts as you could to make your own home-brewed mutation potions. So I had a lot of fun, and yeah, never really made progress in the game. I don't even know for the first like year of playing if I was even aware of what the actual goal of the game was, or if I was just like, oh yeah, this is fun, just explore the dungeon. But after a few years of that on and off, I finally came back to the game with a bit more of an intent to try and win it. And it took a wee bit for sure to get a winning run going. And since then, I took a decently long chunk where I just didn't really play the game whatsoever and only returned to it about a year and a half ago, I think. And that's where things truly started to fall into place and click together. I had a much greater understanding of what the game was actually doing and definitely started to see a whole lot more success. And so it seemed like a good opportunity to start streaming this and have some fun with all of you lovely folk out there. At least share some of the fun that we were already having with the game. So yeah, very long-winded way of saying that had a decently long history with the game, but definitely didn't have consistent victories until much more recently. A huge part of that, actually, now that I think about it, is probably also due to the fact that around the same time that I returned to Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup, I started watching Ultraviolent 4, and that gave me a much greater appreciation and understanding of the game and how to get through in one piece for sure. It's always nice when you can find somebody who does a great job of explaining, like they definitely do. You miss Ultraviolent 4? Me too. I mean, if they're doing great things with their life, all the more power to them, and I'm glad that they're doing their own thing now, but was definitely a constant source of entertainment and information for me, for sure. Let's head over to the stairs to finish this fight. Can even switch over. Where are those boomerangs? There we go. So we're not chasing down this electrical golem the whole time. Okay, I was wondering if they were even going to come back there. Looked like we had escaped their notice completely for whatever reason. Okie dokie. Bit of an interesting welcoming party here. Probably should be focusing down the Scorcher. Don't especially want any damnation coming down on our heads at the moment here. And ideally just one of you gets next to me. Fantastic stuff. That's exactly who I was hoping it would be as well. That works for me. We'll continue to swap between ranged items in order to soften up our opponents here, and then using our trident to finish the dirty work. In fact, I keep starting to explore the floor, but we should almost definitely use some magic mapping, because why not? We have them in spades here, extras to spare. Seems prudent, at the very least, to think about. You got your first win because of Ultraviolent 4. Nice. You started playing in 0.9, played on and off for a couple years, and took a few years off. Came back in 1.25 for your first time. That's awesome. It sounds like we shared a fairly similar experience with the game for a large chunk of that there. But definitely makes sense. I feel like this game is a good source for coming back to over the years because of the constant updates that have been pushed through and how much it's changed over the time. Like, I feel like that's oftentimes the siren song that calls me back to it, is that I want to experience some of this new stuff. It seems silly and fun. Let's use our condenser vein now that we're surrounded by enemies here, just to simplify the encounter a little bit, especially with all these casters. I mean, hey, if the shifter wants to pull me out of danger, I don't mind. Still, of course, not completely out of the hot seat. Might even use some draw out power here just to get a nice bit of a heal. And then hopefully can finish this off. I don't actually know. What are you, invisible person? Hitting me harder than I'd like, that's for sure. Also, hey Spotify. Oh, did I forget to loot Polybridge soundtrack? I mean, don't get me wrong. This is a beautiful start to the music here as well, but unfortunately I don't trust you not to give me copyrighted stuff, so dearest too, I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to say no, go another direction, get back to the usual classics here. I'm never paying close enough attention to when I actually boot up yield Spotify here. Ooh, and we're not doing a great job of pushing this this damage. Could draw out power. Could just apocalypse and hope it does enough damage. I don't think that is conditional on being able to see our enemies. All enemies in our line of sight. Now that's interesting wording that I don't love. That is definitely fascinating. I have no idea what you are, friend. Alternatively, what do we have at our disposal here? Try and blink out. Heading this direction seems potentially risky. Going this direction is sketchy because we have to take one more hit at the very least. And those lightning blasts or whatever that's coming out hasn't been fantastic so far. I feel like we've even rolled lucky quite a few times in that regard. But this is exactly the kind of situation that I've been in the past where I've told myself that surely we'll be okay if we just kill them right now. It's that easy. But usually doesn't come across as being that simple in the end. So the last question that we'll ask ourselves here before we start making moves is, do we want to draw out power first? Get a bit of a heal down, hopefully enough to out heal whatever actions are coming against us, and that makes me feel slightly more comfortable about blinking past this invisible caster friend. Let's do it. we do manage to heal quite a bit, and would you look at that, we actually killed the threat right in the last moments there. Oh my gosh.